going there?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Just about the people here. He was saying about how, you know, the people moved from place to place following the, you know, livestock and stuff. But then after they found corn, and so then they decided to become farmers.
Your purse was buried behind 50 pounds of crap.
It's a long walk to carry her.
Yeah. Maybe this afternoon we're supposed to go up some other tour that takes 2.5 hours now. Yeah, you'll get lost exercise.
Your age. And then I lost it. What's up with that?
Yeah. I don't understand.
Now that you're down here, you can see it's a little different down here compared to what you just drove through up on the mesa top.
Now please remember that the Pueblos thrived here in Mesa Verde for 700 years. But what most people do not know is that during most of that time, they built all their houses, their towns, their pueblos, all up on the mesa tops, right next to their fields. Only the last 5 and 6 generations of Pueblo families build their homes down here in the cliffs and ledges below before leaving Mesa Verde altogether. There's still plenty of people living in these older towns up on top, but it looks as if more and more people are moving into the cliffs. It brings up a lot of questions here at Mesa Verde. Here are some questions for you this morning. Can you tell me, what is the difference between living up there and living down here? What do you think? So they're going to grow all their food up here, but down here on those hot summer days, what do you think? Down here in the shadows? It's actually cooler down here on those hot summer days. But during the winter, Pueblos will build big public fires right in the alcoves and warm the rocks and buildings. We can control the temperature down here much better than anyone who lives up on top. So temperature's a big difference. What's another difference between living up there and living down here besides the temperature?
Oxygen.
Same amount of oxygen down here, but you brought up wind. Who would like to visit Mesa Verde in the springtime? Does springtime sound really nice to you right now? Now be warned, this is an average spring day on our Colorado Plateau. Please add to this billions and billions of grains of sand. Folks, you'll have to wait till I go in there in just a moment, okay? Yeah, so, but down here we're out of the wind, we're out of the rain, and we're out of the snow. And remember that your house is made of bricks and wood, but tell me, what's holding your house together?
Mud.
Simpler than that? Mud. Now maintain that up there in the elements, and the dry alcoves will look really inviting to you. So we definitely have shelter from the elements down here. So shelter, temperature. What is another difference between living up there and living down here besides those two?
Protection
From?
other tribes.
Protection from other tribes. Now, for nearly 100 years, the stories told in Mesa Verde focus on the cliff dwellings being castles, forts. They're built for protection. Now, this intuitively sounds good. Ma'am, you'll have to wait until I go into the cliff dwelling. Please stop. Stop. Okay. Yeah, now, this sounds intuitively good, and you're still going to see it on the books. But of the hundreds of cliff dwellings in your park today, you can only actually defend about 3 dozen. So most we're going to just waltz right into them below. Here's a different analogy. Did anybody here lock their door at home before going on this trip? Lock your door? You'd tell me anyways, right? Yeah. Now, think about this. I'm going to get all my supplies down into the cliff dwellings, all my food down into the cliff dwellings, and no matter which way you look at it, that's a lot of work to get it all back out. So you go right ahead and think security when you look at these buildings, but not necessarily for yourself. Everything you need to survive with and make life comfortable. Security, temperature, shelter from the elements. Now we left out a big one. What's the one thing you need to survive out here in this dry environment? Water. All of Mesa Verde's water is down here. The sandstone absorbs the rain and snow, and water filters down through the rock, but will not go past the shale layer underneath your feet. Now that forces all this water out at the head of these canyons. Now it's not a coincidence that the cliff dwellings are built next to and on top of all these seep springs. But try this. She or he who controls access to the water supply controls the future. Does that sound familiar? So water, temperature, shelter, security. Now be careful, everyone, because we just stepped into the classic Mesa Verde trap. It's a trap. Everyone talks about the positive reasons to live in cliff dwellings, but you now know that only the last 5 and 6 generations of families were willing to do it because there are terrible, terrible problems of having to live down here. If you had to live down here, What would be the drawbacks? What do you think? Access, getting in and out. Now we've blasted this trail out of the sandstone to get you and horses into this canyon. Now our Pueblo ancestors cut tiny holes in these rocks big enough for their hands and toes, and they are scaling these cliffs every single day. So this is my version of a Pueblo morning. Ouch. Good morning. Good morning. Folks, you'll have to wait until I go in there. Please stop. Stop. Thank you. Okay. Okay, time to go to work. Have a nice day. Think about this, all your food and all your supplies. My favorite is still firewood, everybody. So who would like to carry firewood down here for me? You're so nice. I wouldn't carry it, would you?
Yeah.
So now you know the work it's going to take to get in and out of your home. What do you think was an occasional sound in a cliff dwelling 700 years ago? Occupational hazard. But are you ready? It's not the worst. There's something else far more dangerous down here. It kept them out of these alcoves. What was it? No flooding. Not down here. Sorry? Animals. You know, if an animal walks into your town, that's a plus. You have all kinds of animal products in the collections. The answer is actually lying all around you. Look about us, everyone. What do you see? See the rocks?
Rocks.
Yeah. When you see a rock, see the size of that boulder? When you see that rock, where's the first place you look? Oh, that's right. Rocks are always falling in Mesa Verde. We have lost entire cliff dwellings, entire towns when the ceilings gave way, and these rocks have come down. Folks, you'll have to stop. Please wait. Folks, stop. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, we've actually had rocks come down right in the middle of our ranger guided tours. Now, does that make you feel better? So if anyone sees me running this morning, that should tell you something. Now, because of this, I think the most interesting discovery in all of the Mesa Verde is found not in the cliff dwellings, but in the cracks directly above. We looked into these cracks and we found Pueblo prayer sticks jammed into the cracks above the towns. Now we recognize those are still being used today. That's a prayer or blessing for your home. Now, you live there. One morning you're processing food. You're boasting about the last hunt. You are chasing turkeys. It's an honorable profession. And while that's going on, the prayer stick in the crack above your head, everybody, watch it carefully. If that prayer stick fell right in front of you, tell me, what would you do next? What does this mean? We've never found any skeletons, no bodies underneath any of these rock falls. And I remind people all the time, this is Pueblo technology, plain and simple. Now we have a very large group this morning, so once we get into our town, you are more than welcome to spread out. So let's go into the town.
What was the age expectancy?
Where did all these people come from? We started out small and all these.
This is the only one open.
Around 35 years is the lifespan of a plant.
35 years.
Dang, they only live 35 years on average.
That sucks.
No wonder the elders were so celebrated or worshipped and respected.
And then you're on your own.
画那个神像，我觉得他神像跟反应，Michael 的神像。很怪，蛮怪的，因为影响不了解。重重，主要就是重重的。他们哪里去看的？不知道，他这种重一下，我觉得是常年跟那个来狗看出来。那不管是什么，来之前应该不会，对不对？很吓人的，他一下子想不通了呀。重一下打人的。
就有那个埋在里面的。
因子在里面。结果最后爆发，他有没有跟来狗打架？啊，还叫他跑？
死咬不掉的。两个人都有。
两个人看下来都有心理，都有心理，看过，看几个电影，两个人都看过，都有心理，都有心理。
Want to stay by the main?
Yeah.
It says Angel.
Where is he?
There's actually about the right amount of people in here right now that actually live in this town. So that you've just repopulated. About 60, 80 people. Yeah. And they mainly make people walk the plank. Yeah, you'll see puppy lines on the walls down the tower here. We're trying to move all water almost away from the alcove. Keep it as dry. Dry is good here in the Southwest. Considering that 95% of everything you see is right in the region. I hope I look as good. Yeah. Now, the rooms that go down into the ground are called chivas, and there's a chiva over here that you're welcome to climb right down into.
Ooh, we can go inside of the kiva over here.
Okay.
One of my favorite urban legends. You guys like urban legends? Stories that sound so good, they must be true. Here is a Mesa Verde classic. The cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde face south. Taking advantage of that low-angle winter sun for solar heat and solar warmth. Boy, that sounds so good. And is it true? All the cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde are facing east and west because the canyons of Mesa Verde run north and south. We're only going to get sunshine down here in the afternoon and evening hours. And that's great on those hot summer days, but not on the winter mornings. So if you all look up and see the black, it begins to make more sense. Start imagining the size of the public fires roaring away in these alcoves, and imagine the firewood you're going to go through to heat these spaces. That's a lot of work, isn't it? Now there's more work right in front of you. Go ahead and look at your Pueblo bricks. Look at the bricks that are right in front of you, and you can still see chisel marks in most of them. Now understand that this is not adobe. No adobe in Mesa Verde. These are actually carved sandstone blocks. Now it's work to cut, to shape, and fit all these bricks together. But think of this. What are the advantages of having all these nice, tight-fitting bricks? What are the advantages? What do you think?
Insulation.
Insulation controls the temperature. Good. What else? I'm sorry? Oh yeah, just like Legos. Stack, 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 stack. Very good. What else? You know what my favorite is? Let's see that mouse chew his way through the wall this time. Now, would anyone like to volunteer this morning? Your job, you're going to hike all the way down to the very bottom of the canyons of the Mesa Verde, gather as much mud as you can, bring it all the way back up here for a mortar in between our bricks. Would anybody like to do that this morning? Please remember that tight-fitting bricks require very little mortar, very little mud, and therefore less maintenance. And that's why we're still standing here 700 years later. So I'd like to change the subject for a moment. You've been traveling through our beautiful Four Corners. Has anyone here seen or picked up a copy of the Durango Relocation Guide? Does that sound familiar to you? Durango Relocation Guide. You know, they want you to buy a house here and spend all your money. Have you seen the price tags of these houses? Your eyes will fall out of your head. So I'm going to show you the most inexpensive apartment in all of the Montezuma County. It's right over here. That's their main purpose. But I want you to think of a very small town with a little church. Now you recognize a church as spiritual, but a church becomes a meeting hall, social center, emergency relief center. See how it's multifunctional? So kivas are designed for spiritual, for ceremony, but they're also used for living, heating, gathering, meetings, all the above. Multifunctional room.
When someone died, did they do anything with that, like burial or anything?
Not exclusively with the kivas, although we found burials sealed into the floors of rooms.
Okay.
We found them sealed in the rooms that were no longer being used. We found them in the trash mounds in front of the town, and we found them up in the fields up on top. So Pueblo people bury their dead everywhere. Absolutely. Sure.
Thank you.
Now, because being a seasonal ranger for the National Park Service offers a remarkably stable career choice. You should know better. That's right. One of the many. I've been leaning along the lines of Pueblo real estate agent. What do you think? I can sell you an apartment because I know the ultimate sales pitch. So pull out the wallets. Location. 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 Given the option to rent or buy, will you live in an apartment in the very back of the Spruce Tree House? Or live in an apartment in the middle of Spruce Tree House? Or live in an apartment in the front of Spruce Tree House? Where do you want to live? Now, how many people here would like to live in the back? Who's going to live in the back? In the back. Back, back, back. Now, why do you want to live in the back?
No, I feel more protected from the
More
weather
protection
and
back
from
there.
animals.
Do you notice how well preserved the buildings are in the back compared to the front? Why do you want to live in the back?
Warmer.
It's warmer back there, isn't it? And how about on those hot summer days? Cooler. Temperature is definitely a big plus. Why do you want to live in the back? Warmer. Okay. Did you know the spring is back there? Don't you love lugging water? When I look back there, I see privacy. Let's face it, this is the ultimate condo, isn't it? You're on top of your neighbors, okay? Now, all good reasons to live in the back. But look at the black that is covering my ceiling and tell me now, what is a common sound in this town this time of the year? Common sound. What would that do to the quality of your life? This is why the average lifespan was about 35 years. 35 years. So I'm going to offer you an apartment up front. Who would like to live up front? Up front. Front, front. Now, why would you like to live up front?
Nice view.
You came for the view. That is so Colorado. Okay, besides the view, why do you want to live up front?
Fresher air.
Fresh air, clean air in front of the town. And I'll let you know, when the sun hits this plaza, even on a winter afternoon, it's pretty nice. Falling rock. How about access, getting in and getting out? What do you think? Yeah, it's easier here. Now, there's something I haven't told you yet, but this whole area you've been walking and standing on all this time is the Pueblo Trash Mound. Last week's dinner, busted tools, broken pots, and, do I have to say it? Poop. Yeah. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up and stick your head out of your doorway, I want you to do this. Ah, the good old days. Now, coming from the farm, maybe it's something you can get used to. And as a consolation, Pueblos did not throw everything away. Reduce, reuse, and recycled. Most of the tools and artifacts you see on display in our museum up there, they're already recycled pieces of Pueblo trash. It's a great idea for any society and in any century. Last choice, everyone. Who here will live in the middle? Live in the middle. Middle. Oh, change your mind, did we? No, that was my first choice. Okay. It's not a coincidence that there is more living space, not in the back, not in the front, but in the middle of Mesa Verde cliff dwellings. Now look upstairs and see the original yellow plaster. Yes, original, everybody. Look to the upper right of the number 4, and you'll see a little design painted in pink on that yellow wall. Now, personally, I'm drawn to this very nice two-tone effect. Look, we have yellow plaster on the upper wall with pink plaster running along the lower wall. Now, wouldn't Martha Stewart be happy? These are natural muds found in Mesa Verde, yellow, white, pink. But more important than the color, please look at the corners of these apartments and see the black. Notice that? If it's heated, it's lived in. If it's heated, do not be fooled by all the buildings you see here in Mesa Verde National Park, because gone are the days of the pantry. We have to store our entire family's food supply for a year, maybe even longer. Most Mesa Verde buildings were never heated. They're food storage. Only these heated apartments give us an idea of the population. This is how we know that 60 to 80 Pueblo people lived right here in the Spruce Tree House. 4,000 to 5,000 Pueblo people lived in what we call Mesa Verde National Park. And that's just the park. These towns go all the way down these canyons into the state of New Mexico and clear across the Montezuma Valley well into the state of Utah. So you are looking at just a fragment of a massive complex stretching through the 4 corners. But all counted, we are looking at 40 to 50,000 Pueblo people. 40 to 50,000 people. That is a lot more people living here back then that are living in Dolores and Montezuma counties today. That's food for thought right there. Good stuff. Now, any questions before I go on from here? Any questions?
Do you think it was a family lived inside the same complex? Or
Archaeologist Joe Bisbrin, based on heated apartments and storage rooms around them, he believes he's identified about 15 separate families living in this particular town, totaling about 60 to 80 Pueblo people. But know this, I could put 20 men in this kiva, 20 men. I can't squeeze 20 families into these apartments right behind it. So we know that only some of the clan of each family living here lived here. The rest of the clan are living in the nearby towns. But Spruce Tree House actually has 2/3 more public space, you're standing in it, than living space. It's designed to accommodate a lot of people. So we see this as a cultural or social center for all the surrounding communities. Everyone comes here for meetings and dances and all the social events. Big public place. Good question. Any other questions? Yeah.
Where would you live?
Where would I live? I live in the middle. It's the best of both worlds. So, yeah.
When you say Montezuma or something, does that have something to do with the Arizona Death Monument, or that's a different?
Just a lot of Spanish names still survive in this area today. La Plata
Has nothing to
Mountains,
do with that.
San Juan River, Montezuma County. Right.
Okay. The walls, was that much higher like those?
No, a lot of people think these are defensive walls, but one of the things we do compression tests on the mud, in between the walls. We can tell you exactly how much weight was pushing on these walls. These walls were only a brick or 2 higher. So there's nothing defensive about this town. These are just dividing walls from one courtyard space to another. Okay. I wish they would have counted all the bricks before they took them out of here. Because at least we'd have an idea how many stories high the buildings in the front would have been. And people ask me, what happened to all the bricks? Recycle, reduce, reuse.
Really?
Yeah, if you look carefully, you'll actually see an occasional petroglyph pop up in one of the buildings up there. Because we end up using all these bricks to build the structures here in Mesa Verde National
How
Park.
many people live here?
60 to 80 people lived in this town right here. 60 to 80 people. Okay. Now, much more than just apartments, you can see the kivas, these unique circular rooms that go down in the ground. Let's go inside a kiva to see exactly what that's like. There's symmetry. Okay.
It's a long time period.
Okay, now, kiva 1, kiva 2, kiva 3 at this level with a little kiva built slightly out in front. Other side of the wall here. Kiva 1, kiva 2, kiva 3 is behind the square tower, all built on that level. And see this little curved wall where the people are standing? Little kiva built out in front. So there is symmetry in this town. We call that a moiety. And it means that half the clans on one side are in charge of the politics and the food. And then the clans on the other side are in charge of the politics for the remaining of the year. So it's like splitting up the power almost.
It was one tribal thing, or it was kind of community.
All these clans living and working
Kind
together.
of civilization.
Absolutely. Yes, I am. Sign down, everybody. Everybody. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, good. Put this in my pocket.
So little time. Careful. Terra firma.
Oh, it's so dark down here.
There goes all the light. Welcome.
Nice. On the spell.
Can you see in there?
Not really. Bit. Just people going down.
You know what I've noticed watching all these years? That people have a greater variety of footwear than they do in clothing. There's a good chance you're wearing something else that somebody else wears, but as far as footwear, everyone's got a lot of individual different kinds of shoes and footwear.
Take a picture.
Yeah, go ahead. It's awesome.
Maybe a flash though.
Well, unless you hold a flash.
The lightning machines. Other than that, you pretty much have everything on that a Pueblo would be wearing. They dyed and wove cotton clothing. They wore leather shoes, sandals. Folks, up or down, please. Up or down, please. People are waiting to come in. Okay, please go.
What was kept here?
This is a religious room.
Religious.
Prayer and meditation and religious ceremony. But it's the easiest room to heat, and it's the easiest room to keep cool.
No, go ahead. I'm just right here.
And Pueblos spend a lot of quality time in their kivas.
It's cool.
You want to be in it?
Welcome.
See, the battery's low.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's on right now. Yeah.
And have some religious thing been found?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Try that again.
So what about religious thing? Were they found?
Religious items?
Yes.
Oh, there are many religious items. Pahos are called prayer sticks. Kiva jars. Remember, there's many modern Pueblo societies today, but they don't always share their religious objects. They have shrines like altars in kivas. Yep. We found a lot of religious objects, and there's some objects we don't understand whatsoever. We don't recognize them. So,
Are they in the museum now?
we don't put sacred objects on display anymore for respect purposes. But you can read about them in books.
And where are they kept?
The books are kept up in the bookstore.
No, the objects.
We have over 3 million objects in the park's collection. There is a collection facility just a mile back from the museum here. So When Gustav dug into this room in 1891, he recognized it, and he remembered that the Hopi Indians today still built kivas for the prayer and meditation and religious ceremonies. But I was saying earlier, it's also the easiest room to heat and keep cool. So Pueblo spent a lot of quality time in their kivas. Now we made a few changes. We put the roof back on this kiva for you. That hatch you came through should be 2/3 smaller.
Really?
Oh yeah, I had to squeeze through a Pueblo doorway once. So this ladder should go in at a shallow angle, and there should be a large hole or fire pit here, and then a smaller hole carved in the floor right across from it. Now we had to cover up the holes because people like to trip on them. But when you look into the other kivas before you go today, you'll still see these holes on the floor. Now this is our fire pit right here. Do I need a big fire in my fire pit to make this room toasty warm? Do we need a big fire?
No.
No, see, that's good wood conservation. But we're still going to have to deal with the smoke. And this is what they did. Small fire in your fire pit, and smoke from your fire will go right out through the hatch here in the roof. Now that creates negative pressure in this room, and that pressure pulls the cool, clean air right down this vent shaft. Now the clean air comes in, bounces off this deflection wall, and clean air circulates around the kiva without interfering with the fire. So smoke out, clean air in, Pueblo technology. That's useful, isn't it? Now, does anyone here besides myself still heat with wood today? Anybody?
My grandmother.
Your grandmother? Fireplace or wood stove?
Wood stove.
Uh-huh.
We used to have a fireplace.
If you ever build a big enough fire in the stove, have you ever noticed? It starts to suck all the air from inside the house. Now my stove sucks so much air, it pulls the icy draft right underneath the door and right through the cracks around the windows. There's an icy breeze that blows right through my house on a winter afternoon. That's not right. So I finally have bought a Jodel stove, and it comes with the intake air valve. Now that brings oxygen from right outside my house, goes directly into the wood box to give the fire all that it wants, and then eliminate that draft altogether. Guess where I got the idea from? I'm just catching up with Pueblo technology. Okay. Now I described a smaller hole on the floor. This little hole on the floor is called sipapu, or sapapu, depending on which Pueblo you visit today. This represents a doorway, and it connects this world to the world below us. Now this is the cornerstone of Pueblo belief system. Pueblo people believe that their ancestors traveled through several different worlds on their way into this world. And each time they went through that magical doorway, sipapu. And you're going to find lots of variations of these stories amongst the modern Pueblo descendants today. But I'll let you know this morning that they're not likely to tell you why they moved. The worlds below us were considered bad places to live in. The worlds below were crowded. There was violence and crime. So all the people come together, and they all travel up, up, up into the next world, and their prayers close the doorway to keep the witches and the sorcerers from following them. Now Ranger Mark, who some of you met up at the museum desk this morning, and several of the rangers here in Mesa Verde National Park, they've come up to me and said, Sean, every once in a while, when you think there's no one looking, we can see you doing this. What's up with that? I tell people all the time, if I look up and I see a hole dangling above your heads, I'm going through it. Oh, it gets even better. Some of the Hopi have been talking about the hole in our ozone layer and the fact that astronauts keep coming and going. And now with the Kepler mission, we now know of several hundred new planets, new worlds beyond our solar system. We're just looking at the first Earth-like planets as I speak. So when the Hopi Indians say that the next world is waiting for all of us out there beyond the Sipapu. Right? That's a very interesting thought, is it not? So know that a lot of thought and a lot of hard work and a lot of technology went into all the Pueblo towns. So now we have a difficult question to answer. Why? Why would all the Pueblos walk away from this? What is going to move 40 to 50,000 Pueblo people from the Four Corners in just a few generations? What are your thoughts on that this morning?
Gotta be drought.
Drought's a classic here in the Southwest. Let's face it, farming, drought. They go together, don't they? Now, the answer is in the tree rings, because the rings are recording the wet and dry years here in the Four Corners. It is a fact that we did record a drought at the same time the Pueblos were leaving the Four Corners. For several decades, rangers told everyone drought pushed these farmers from this area. I love simple explanations, but it gets more complicated. We looked at the whole 700-year history in the tree rings here in the Southwest, and we found that Pueblos have survived 21 other droughts previous, some of them far worse than the last one. So now knowing that the Pueblos have survived many, many droughts before, would drought by itself be enough to move everybody?
Bad juju.
We think it's part of the problem.
Yeah.
We think it's part of the problem. What else? What are your thoughts?
Enemies.
You know, a lot of people thought people were pushed out of this area, but the only evidence of people in this area are all Pueblo. So if there were enemies, they were simply other Pueblo people. Only in the last 20 to 30 years do we actually find security devices installed in Pueblo houses. But by the time that these towns were built, security was not an issue at all. So we don't think it was that what drove everybody out.
Maybe the corn better, please?
You know, the corn is always greener on the other Pueblo's Mesa. Is that not true? Are you living in the same town you were born in? How many people live in the same town you were born in?
Wow.
Yeah. See, so we're a pretty mobile society. We go where the resources are, we go where the opportunities are, and many of the Rio Grande Pueblos down in New Mexico were actually thriving. At the same time, people were leaving here. Now, we're not isolated. We're connected by trade. We're connected by blood. And so, yeah, there's a better way of life for us someplace else. I couldn't live in New York State on my ranger salary, by the way, so that's what got me out here. So. Anything else? No. Who's got a garden? Anybody have a garden? Grow vegetables?
Yep.
Okay. How high above sea level is your garden? Do you know?
800 feet, 1,000 feet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And your garden?
Probably a few hundred feet.
A few hundred feet. What's our elevation here on the south side of the park? Did you see the sign on the way in today? 7,000 feet, everybody. And you pass 8,000 feet just 4 miles back at the far view. So, in a sense, you're pushing it for a garden. Now, the only reason it works in Mesa Verde, and don't tell anybody this, Mesa Verde's not a mesa at all. It's a tilted ridge to the south. We call that a cuesta. A cuesta. That makes us a solar collector. And we have a longer growing season up here compared to the valleys directly below us. There's only one problem with that arrangement. If you were to drop the park's temperature, its average temperature, just 2 degrees, the whole growing season here will go. Now we can go down these canyons and find a longer growing season, but we lose the 17 to 18 inches of rain to keep those crops green. We can go up into the San Juan Rockies and get all the moisture we could dream of. But the higher we climb, the growing season gets shorter, shorter still. I tell everyone it really is a balancing act to be a farmer on the plateau. And now that I've revealed that to you, where are the modern Pueblo societies living today? Where are Hopi Indians living? Zuni Indians living? Acoma, Cochiti, Laguna, Zia.
New York City?
Nope. One direction, everybody.
South.
Everybody's to the south, and most are at lower elevations along the Little Colorado River and the Rio Grande today. This is not a coincidence. So please remember, for all this excellent hard work and for all this technology, it did not solve all of their problems. I think that's a healthy, that's a healthy wake-up call for us, because so many people tell me technology will fix this, technology will solve that. But know that our civilization is not supported by technology. It's supported by resources. Water is still precious. I tell people that soil is more valuable than gold, and rather build on it, you should be growing food in it. Our forest here in the Mesa Verde National Park regulates the park's temperature. It's a habitat for animals. Protect it. Take better care of all the resources you already have, because if you don't, one day in your country, or one day in your town, and one day in your house, rangers will be doing guided tours. Isn't that sobering? Go ponder that this morning. So, thank you for coming down on a chilly morning here at the Mesa Verde. Please explore the rest of our town if you haven't already done that before you return to civilization as you know it, huh? But it's nice down here with you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Temperature change?
it's a little claustrophobic for me. I'm like the low ceiling and the wall.
Now we had put nearly 6 inches of soil on the floor, so
That was crazy. That was awesome. Thanks for carrying my purse.
Want to get a picture?
Yeah,
I think facing this way is...
yeah. Right. Where did everyone go? They disappeared. Darn tourists. Okay, here, wait. Okay.
nice and warm down there.
So how does the legend of Pocket Valley tie into
Hey,
this area? Does
take a
it?
picture.
The hump